Okay, so for we're at day one of the UATP Airline Distribution Conference in Barcelona, and I'm joined by Samuel Flynn. Samuel is the founder of a company called Hands In.
Yes.
You're the founder. You were telling me a minute ago you founded it when you were only 22 years of age. So,
correct, yeah.
Just tell us a bit about what Hands In is and what it does, Samuel, before we start.
Yeah, so it's evolved quite a bit over time, as all businesses do, but we're still focusing on this concept of split payments, but we've just slightly changed the definition of that. So when I first started the business, we were primarily focused on split payments for group booking. So for the first time in a travel payment experience, allowing a lead booker to split the cost of their travel booking with the people that they're going away with, friends, families, etc. Solving this age-old problem of someone heading to check out, having difficulty upfront in the entire group payment.
So you've always got that lead booker who's pushing the agenda. Could be a lad's golf trip or something, and he ends up with all the payments.
That, and then chasing everyone around for the money that's owed. We wanted to kill that. And it was built out of frustration for my own problem, constantly being that person. And then effectively along the way, we started to pitch into enterprise travel merchants, and one of them was Air Europa. And we pitched to the payments team there, and we're like, Sam, we love this group payment proposition, exactly that. It tackles these new use cases that the business doesn't really have in motion at the minute. But 95% of our direct channel revenue is typically like one or two people, a pack size one or two individuals, and they have a big issue at the minute of decline, specifically due to insufficient funds. They were like, what's really clever about the back end side of your product is that you're splitting a payment across effectively multiple cards and methods, but just doing it with an interface of people. Could you do this for one passenger? And we then created what we call a multi-card solution. So a single purchase being split across multiple cards. So you can combine for the first time a credit card, a debit card for one transaction. And what we learned then from there, when we launched Air Europa in 2024, is that 60% of the usage we were getting on that product came from a payment decline on another method. So
someone's gone in, tried to buy a flight, but gone through the whole booking process and payment process, and it said, sorry, I have insufficient funds, whatever's the reason.
And we would basically, Air Europa expose that data to us, and then we would provide the pop-up of the split tender. They click that and go back to the multi-card solution, and we'd successfully authorize that product. So to summarize now, we're split payments across multiple cards, also multiple methods. So we work with APMs like Buy Now, Pay Laters, wallets. We can also do open banking as well, in the same format of like sequencing different payment types for one purchase. But we started off in this group angle, and it's all to add incremental revenue at the checkout and then rescue payments that are failing due to insufficient funds.
So you can actually choose, as a consumer, among them a range of different payment types. It's not just a straightforward credit or debit card. Wow, so it gets quite complex in that sense, doesn't it? Because you can have pay in 3 or pay buy now, pay later for part of your purchase. So it gives the consumer, because he's obviously, and you're buying an airline flight or you're buying a holiday, that's your biggest purchase of the year, almost certainly. People do not have the funds, particularly, not always these days, and with people's access to money, so it gives them the ability where they couldn't maybe have afforded it in the traditional sense. They now know they can, as long as they're sort of planning forward for it.
Exactly that.
So Air Europa was almost your case study airline, or
our bridge into our take flight.
You've proved yourself. And what's coming up? I know you were on stage earlier and you talked about some clients that are coming on. Probably can't tell us yet exactly what's going on there, but you say there are clients in the pipeline.
Yes, so we will be working this year with a tier 1 airline in the Middle East. We are doing this with a partner that is not yet announced, but it's huge from an aviation perspective. So we'll have to do another interview once I'm able to fully speak about that. And then with this partner, because the case study of Air Europa has become so successful and now rolling into our first tier 1 client from an airline perspective, we've now rolled up another 4 in this partnership. They will hopefully be launching across the next 12 to 18 months. So all in different terrains, Europe, some are in Africa. It's just a really exciting time for the business. And what we're learning is that with airlines in particular, we're talking kind of off the record just beforehand, is going through partners is key. So, once we're able to share that, that'll be fantastic. But we've also just partnered with UATP and the Scepter platform. So any airline that's thinking of using that or is currently using that, we're now available.
So being on Scepter means you don't need a direct relationship with Hands In. You plug into that once, and then you can choose Hands In as an option with it. So hence you're here this week because you're now a fully fledged member of the network.
Exactly that.
What you've experience with airlines in particular then tell you about the industry, which we were talking before, how look, these things do take time, and the industry will admit it's famous for not moving necessarily particularly quickly on certain things. And there's often good reasons for that. But it does take time. What are you learning yourself from the airline industry in terms of rolling out new technology, innovating in this area?
So exactly what you just shared. It takes time, but once you're in, you're in. That's what I've learned. I think I fully
trust. There's a trust element to it.
Trust element is key, but obviously you have to prove yourself in that format. And we've done that with Air Europa, and now that we've developed that trust, we're in the highest circles from an airline payment perspective. And that will be that'll be showcased in sort of the next 3 to 4 months once we can announce certain things. And the good thing with airlines, as long as you continue the strength of your product and your service, you can build that relationship. They typically don't churn. That's more of a business case. So I've learned, whilst it takes time, once the plane is up, it rarely comes down. It just keeps going.
To use that analogy. Is there a certain part of the industry you think this is going to be more readily adopted in? Obviously, we cover the low cost and regional area. We've got the magazines in front of us here. Do you think this is going to be adopted there more quickly because they can move more quickly, they see the benefits of this, or is it more the legacy carriers, tier ones?
I think it will. It's hard to answer that question black and white because we do now so many different products. Like for the group product, I would say, like in the UK as example, like an EasyJet, a Ryanair would be perfect for something like that. So it'd be like the low cost carriers. But then for our multi-card solution, it's definitely those carriers that are doing longer haul routes because it's higher intent bookings. And then also from a payment perspective, those that have card focus or those that have card focus and their exposure to low credit limits like Latin America. But we're learning so much of all these different implementations that the story that what I could say today will look very different in the future. But I do think what we do from a payment recovery perspective, only it makes sense. Like the bigger the pie, the more we recover. So I think it'll just be a topple down effect. Obviously, compound that with the timing aspect. But
and yourself, you're a startup. You're innovative yourself, so you will no doubt come up with new ideas and products
all the time.
When you know more about the industry, so it's a dynamic. It's a done thing, isn't it? Before we wrap up, just a thought on where the technology is taking us. We mentioned AI before talked about AI before we started this. There's going to be a lot of talk about AI here, inevitably. I get the sense you're positive about the impact of AI. It can do lots of very good things for the industry. Where do you see it making the biggest impact, especially in the payment sector?
Well, obviously agentic commerce, calling on an API to make your booking for you in travel will be huge. And I don't think anyone yet has cracked it, but they're going to do so very soon. So, us as a payment provider, I'm always looking at, all right, how can we play into that? And I think we'll play into it as a payment method and possibly as a recovery service for these agentic layers. So, when you call, in the agentic layer and a payment fails and it fails insufficient funds, we can be provided as a split tender option.
What you'll be doing as a consumer when you're telling your agent, your agentic agent, a bot, to say, well, book this at the most cost-effective way for me as a consumer. And if that is hands in, that is what it will choose.
Or if the payment fails, so imagine you call the agent and the agent says, right, the transaction's failed. Right. Now the consumer has a choice of what they can do. What I would like to say is, all right, we call the agent, the transaction's failed, no problem. Do you mind splitting that across my 2 cards, please?
Well, I thought it was interesting earlier on one of the sessions, maybe it was before your guys, was Air Canada was up there talking about how there's a future where we don't look at an airline's website at all in the booking because the agent does it for you. I can completely see that happening. I mean, I can almost see that happening very quickly as well because it's kind of here anyway. And it's so consumer friendly. It's so easy for a consumer. It just what does that do to sort of the transparency of what people are being charged for payments? I think there's a question around that. But from a consumer point of view, you can see this is what they want, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, And it's the job of providers like ourselves to, in our case, we're playing in this infrastructure that's coming, and we know we have to have a foothold in it. But there's the job of the other providers to answer some of those complex questions.
Well, look, I can hear the music behind us at started, which means we should get in for the sessions the afternoon after lunch. Samuel, thanks for joining us on ABNcast.
Always a
good
pleasure.
to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Brilliant.
Okay, so now we're joined by Stuart Barwood, who's the Chief Revenue Officer of Mobi. on day one at the UATP Airline Distribution Conference in Barcelona. Stuart, thanks for joining us on ABNcast. Just tell us what Mobi is. What do you do?
Yeah, sure. So we do agentic conversational retail. We specialize in helping airlines convert over to that new AI-based conversational approach. So we provide different processes. We provide the back-end rails, which is the MCP back-end, which is the orchestration layer.
MCP stands for?
It's Model Context Protocol.
There's a lot of jargon in this area, but...
Yeah, so that's effectively your API connector, effectively.
Okay.
It's a lot more of an orchestrator, but it's that similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we also provide the front end as well. So we provide the ability for an airline to do that on their own website.
Yeah.
And we also provide the ability to do it in the likes of ChatGPT as well.
Okay. So you're essentially a tech provider enabling this new world of agentic commerce. Just explain, what do you mean by agentic commerce then?
Sure. I mean, a lot of this is taking what airlines already do in the retail world now and applying a more conversational approach to that. So we have this live with airlines now. We're live with American Airlines, for example, and the ability for somebody to ask a question rather than having to type into the boxes. So you can come and say, where can I go in Europe that is hot? Where is good food? You can get that kind of approach. But then as the funnel goes through and somebody starts to say, I want to go to Barcelona on these specific dates, then it actually fulfills into the same sort of booking flow.
Yeah.
And at the moment, that actually fulfills through the existing booking process. It kicks out to the booking flow. But we're not that far away from that being a fully inclusive payment process where transaction can take place in that flow as well.
So you literally check out with a command, essentially.
Effectively. We're not there yet, but it's not far off. And that's not really from our side. That's more from the fact that the agentic protocols are not in place as such yet. But we're working with a number of partners in the payments environment. We work with a major card processor on that at the moment. And we expect that to be live relatively soon.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of coverage this week about the ChatGPT backing off on agentic payments.
Right.
And what that means is them as the merchant of record. So effectively, agentic still continues, but it continues in the app, like what we would provide effectively. So it does still take place.
So ChatGPT, why have they decided to do that?
It's a big piece to go for. I mean, they haven't been clearly specific on why that would be, but my guess would be by doing that, that makes them merchant of record. In the travel world, if you're packaging multiple parts together, you become a packaging provider.
Yeah, it's regulatory.
Yeah, so why would you want to do that from the start? Google have a little bit of a head start in the fact that they have done that in the past. It's a very big bite to do, whereas this way, they can still be in that part, but they allow this to take place with others providing the rails. Yeah. And then that's not to say they won't go into it in the future, but it probably is a very smart move for them not to do it on day one.
Yeah. So for some people, what agentic is, they think it's more like a chatbot. We've had chatbots for years. We know what chatbots do, but it's really not a chatbot, is it? It is a new generation of interface.
It is.
I heard earlier on, I think from Air Canada, that it's very likely you won't come to my website to transact anymore because you'll just do it in these chatbot in this chat world.
It's a strong possibility, and even if you do go to the website, you still actually have the ability to still do this within the website. So a number of airlines have seen what we work on, and they're actually pushing us to build that into their existing booking engine. So the idea is you meet the customer where they are. If the customer's in ChatGPT, they can communicate and transact within that flow. But at the same time, if they want to go to the airline website, the airline can also provide similar capability within their own booking engine.
Okay. So I saw you speak just a few weeks ago in London at the Airline Travel and Payments B2B Summit, and you were asked about the speed of change, and you made a really interesting part of everyone, I think, agreed this stuff's going to come quicker than we appreciate, because it's kind of already here, but it'll be driven by a consumer demand because the consumer experience is so much better than what we currently have. But you were saying that almost there is a desire amongst clients to go quickly with this. And it's almost, you're saying, hang on, hold back. You've got to do it when it's right for you and when you've got everything in place. So what's going on there? What are those conversations like with clients?
Well, it's nice to be doing that. I've been in airline sales for quite some time, speaking to various tech providers over the years. And usually the airline pace of change is not as quick as you would expect. But what I would say within the airline environment is people should see the possibility, because it actually frees you up from a lot of the constraints that are in place when you go into a conversational flow. And quite often we get asked that can we do X, Y, and Z business case, which we certainly can. The question always pushes back to, do you have the APIs in the back end to fulfill that? If you do, we certainly can. And it's nice, you see that the lights go on, so airlines will start looking at it initially, like, they come with a preconception of chatbots, which is definitely not what this is. But as they go through it, it actually frees them from the constraints of the box looking like what the box needs to look like, or the fare families, and gives you the ability to effectively transaction however you would like to do that. So we go away from drop-down boxes and move more towards the approach where it's almost a conversation between customer and an airline.
Yeah, and we've just come out of a session on direct versus indirect, constant discussion in aviation. To be fair, it's not really budged much. It's still there, and there's still a bit of direct, a bit of indirect. And as they said, the customer will decide at the end, ultimately. Are the airlines thinking, well, if you offer this kind of interaction, the customer will decide, and they'll decide to go more direct? Is that driving it a bit as well, the commercial side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will. And where the customers coming through, the reality is that a lot of that demand is going to come through because customers want to speak that way. We already have like Shopify doing these kind of style of retail already, and other e-commerce companies. So it's going to become more and more common that people are going to want to do it that way. The challenge at the moment is this discussion about direct versus indirect. The reality is if you're doing this either on your own website or via a ChatGPT app, you're kind of doing it quasi-direct because the transaction is with you even though it's been facilitated via the channel.
Yeah.
Where that would have been slightly different was previously on the ChatGPT model. If they'd have been the merchant of record, then that would have been slightly different. But what has actually happened with that change now, where the ChatGPT stepping out of doing it directly themselves, it actually places us to some degree a bit more in the hands of the OTAs.
Right.
Yeah, Booking.com are going to be present in this channel.
Yeah.
So this gives you the ability that any traffic that does move currently will go to whoever happens to be there. At the minute, that's likely to be the OTAs.
Yeah.
So it's probably given a greater momentum for airlines to be in that channel, to not risk the 5 or 10% that moves over that period going straight into the hands of the OTAs.
We mentioned ChatGPT a lot, but of course there is a battle now for dominance in this AI world. There's other platforms.
True.
Who knows? Well, maybe there needs to be a winner, but there's going to be certainly winners and losers. Who do you think we should look out for? ChatGPT clearly is out there in the forefront, but there's loads of others, and Google not least.
Yeah, we generally say ChatGPT is the shorthand for all of that because that's what people know.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we are live in other systems. We have, for example, Wyndham have gone live on Claude. We have that live out already.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interoperability between the different models. At the minute, you have Google talking a little bit more commercially because they have probably more experience in that retail space. But I don't think it's about any one particular operator. And the reality is a new operator will come through and challenge.
Yeah.
It's more about keeping the ability to switch the mindset and the approach. And then from our side, our servers can develop whatever comes through.
Yeah.
There may be some new front-end solution that we've not thought of yet, but that builds over the same logic. And it's an ever-growing process. We're learning every day. We're about as close to it as you can be without working for those companies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're learning every day.
But the airlines themselves, the merchants don't need to choose a winner here. It's setting up the system so that they can actually adapt to what comes along. And if someone else comes along, they don't have to rebuild something from scratch. It's all there, ready and waiting.
For sure. So you can build our back-end rails, but that doesn't mean you need to use our front-end systems.
Yeah.
You can have something in-house that can use our back-end rails as well.
For the airlines then, does this offer this kind of agentic future? I guess it provides them with the ability to sell more product, different types of products, and not just the flight, the seat, the baggage, the ancillaries.
Yeah.
You start to really open up retail and this modern retail idea that all airlines want to become modern retailers.
Yeah, and I think this is where the payment piece comes into it a little bit more about if you're starting to package non-core air products, how do you transact and pay for those?
Yeah.
In the current flow, we kick out to the website. So if you can't actually fulfill it on your website, you can't fulfill it in real life. But the reality will be, once payment comes in, it's going to become more of a business decision about what you want to put as merchant of record. But I think where this is becoming more and more interesting is the fact that this is not going to be a one and done cutover. Even if we had the most perfect solution ready to go today, airlines are going to need a degree of confidence as they move over. So what we do is we work with them to actually be able to build that confidence and A/B test some of that. Do 3 fare families on a screen convert better, or is it more through text? We don't actually know all of these answers, but we're working with our partners to be able to get the best outcome.
Yeah. And a final thought on AI in general. I know you actually work in other areas of not just in retail. We've had a chat about predictive maintenance, for instance.
Yeah.
And AI is going to be everywhere. It's all everyone wants to talk about at the minute. What's your view on the actual impact on AI? versus some of the fears that people have about what the impact will be?
Yeah, I think the impact is going to be huge. Yeah. I think there's a lot of noise at the moment where it's not always clear what people refer to. So, for example, last week at ITB, I was hearing from people variations from something that's going to book on your behalf at 3 a.m. in constant spam mail on websites to effectively a new version of Meta. The reality is AI is an enabler to retail. Yeah. The processes are new, but effectively you're still selling travel, you're still selling experiences. And when you look at other areas, for example, optimization, so as you mentioned, we do some work as well around optimization of aircraft tails, optimization from the operational side. Yeah. All of this is massively beneficial. But again, it's understanding the right tool for the job. AI gets thrown around as the banded solution for everything. And we don't say chatbot when we sell. It's not a chatbot. It's an AI-informed retail platform. So I would say it's about making sure when you say AI, you have a good understanding of what you specifically are trying to achieve. But if you achieve it and use the right tool, there's going to be huge potential. Yeah.
Cool. Stuart, look, our time's up. Thanks for that. Hope you have a good rest of the show. And we'll see you again. Thank you. Cheers. Bye. Okay, so for this final quick interview on day one of the UATP Airline Conference, Distribution Conference in Barcelona, I'm now joined by Justin Pike, who is the founder of Burbank. So Burbank, tell us what Burbank is and what it does.
So Burbank is the first company in the world and the only company in the world that has technology that can do card-present payments from consumer apps.
Fine.
So if you're booking an airline ticket online, to make payments, you simply tap your card on the back of your phone and enter your PIN number.
So this makes those payments the exact same as if you're in a shop.
Correct.
Face to face with your card and you beat
exactly.
Okay. Why is that significant, and why is that sort of changed a lot of things in the payment sector then?
A number of reasons. First reason, it gives liability shift. So the transaction is fraud-free. Makes chargebacks a lot harder as well. Is also
just chargebacks are when the consumer challenges a payment.
Correct.
They've got consumer rights where automatically, without the merchant having any way of stopping it, the money goes back into their account.
Correct.
Or onto their card. Yeah.
It wasn't me. I didn't do the transaction. If you have the card and the PIN number.
Yeah. And it's a significant issue in travel, isn't it?
It's huge. Yeah. Very, very big. Yeah. Because it's card present, you get liability shift, and then you get a lower MSF rate off the bank. So you physically charge less per transaction.
Okay.
But probably one of the most significant things for the airline industry is the fact that it eliminates false positives. The false positive is when the wonderful AI system flags it as fraudulent, and it's not.
Okay. Yeah. So because if you've got quite a strict anti-fraud system, you have to accept the number of people who are good customers of yours will not have their payment accepted, which is obviously not great, is it?
And because of the high ticket price of airlines, there's a particular problem in the airline industry.
Fine. Why did it take you to come along to invent this? Why wasn't this always been available? And what have you done to change the whole realm?
I've been in payments for 25 years. Okay. So my first company, probably known by everybody in the room, was eNet. Then I founded my PIN pad. So my PIN pad was the first company to do soft POS, which is where you turn a retailer's mobile phone into a POS device.
Right.
So you typically see this in cafes and bar mechanics and car boot sales. And then Burbank now, since COVID, we've kind of extended that. After lockdown, people couldn't shop. My mother-in-law couldn't shop. And always said to me, why can't I tap my card against my phone when I'm home? So actually, it's no reason why you can't.
Yeah.
But a completely different problem on a consumer device from a security standpoint. So 3 years later, a lot of money, here we are.
Okay. And what technologically then, what needed to happen? Why wasn't this invented previously? Was there significant barriers and hurdles to overcome in order to make this happen?
Yes, security and scalability. So soft POS and POS devices that you see in store, there's about 120 million in the world today. If you plug in another 10 million, the banking system will probably fall over. Whereas we are targeting 2 billion devices.
Okay.
So we've had to come up with an entirely new platform that is infinitely scalable, but also squirts out a message at the end of it that is compatible with the existing banking system.
Right. Okay. So you've created this, and this is a patented system globally. So you're the only company globally that can do this.
Correct.
What stage are you at in terms of being used, of rollout?
So we go to official public live pilots in 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
In Australia, UK, Europe. with, as you can imagine, we're talking to the world's biggest airlines, the world's biggest e-commerce companies.
That's why you're here this week.
Furniture companies.
Yeah. Yes,
everybody.
Obviously, it's not just the travel and airlines.
Gaming, gambling. Yeah. You know, it's a huge problem globally. But the airline vertical has specific problems that CPI, which is what it's called, card present over it, solves.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think you can name a few of your partners so far. Can you publicly or not yet?
Not officially. Not officially.
No, okay. But 2 weeks time,
2 weeks time, people will start reading about we've signed agreements with
in the wild, basically.
People in the room.
Okay.
But it's under wraps until Visa and MasterCard allow us to take the wraps off.
So does this have the ability to eradicate card not present entirely from the scene? Okay, that'll be a thing in the past, essentially.
So essentially, it can eradicate that. Also, people are not wanting to store cards on file anymore.
Okay.
Every week we have a horror story, Marks and Spencer's, Target years ago.
Okay.
So people are getting more aware. And people are starting to move towards security rather than convenience. Okay. And of course, you look at the older generation, my 75-year-old mother would never type her card details in online.
Yeah.
But she knows how to tap her card and enter a PIN when she buys her pay.
Feels more secure, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you're here today and tomorrow amongst an airline community.
Yeah.
What does it mean for them? We're talking about moving into an agentic seats future. So, and this will play its part, I'm sure. What will it mean for them to have this available to them as we're moving into this new paradigm?
When you start to look at agentic AI, you have all sorts of other problems. Well, who's authorized the payments? Because everything in the payments world comes down to absolute authorization of why, because when you enter your PIN number, the only person that knows that. So that's why the PIN number and card present is so secure. Sure. It's only you that knows it. Be an interesting world with bots and chargebacks and how do you know that you approve some? It's going to be interesting. But we have a very significant role to play in agentic AI right back at the start of the flow with giving the authorization categorically in the first place.
Yeah. So like you said, you've been doing this a long time, going back to the days at eNet.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, eNet ended up being bought by Travelport, I think, wasn't it? Or Wex.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of change in the industry over that time. Where do you place where we are today in terms of the propensity to change, the potential for change? Does it excite you where we are today that there's actually something really new and modern coming along and that can really change the paradigm?
The thing that's really changing that I've seen is now the consumer awareness.
Yeah.
Consumers are getting fed up with having their details lost, stolen, not in control with the payments. Merchants are getting fed up with again, chargebacks, and Visa have lowered the threshold for chargebacks, which means more merchants get thrown into it. They're losing money with false positives. I mean, put that into perspective. Fraud last year, e-commerce, globally 44 billion. Lost to AI engines, falsely labeling transactions, 440 billion.
Wow, okay.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And people don't talk about that a lot.
People don't talk about it.
It's a number they want to hide.
Apart from behind us.
Yeah, okay. So AI in general, a lot of talk about it and agentic. You know the travel industry yourself. So how do you see airlines picking up and running with AI? We just came out of a session about the direct versus the indirect channel. Are airlines thinking, wow, this is that last moment where we can really go direct to the consumer? This is clearly the moment we can do that in a way that the consumer actually likes and wants to interact.
It's all about familiarity. And at the end of the day with CPI, everybody in the world has a card, has a PIN, and knows how to use it. So we don't need to do any training. And to your point, it's a trust thing. People abandon carts because they don't trust the checkout experience.
Yeah.
Whereas they use card and PIN, tap and PIN every single day. And it's even better now because they're doing it against their own device.
Yeah.
So this is one of the advantages that we have, and this is why we've seen the demand that we've seen.
Yeah. And for the airlines in the room, when they build trust with a consumer, they can then start doing more things with them as well. They can retail more things to them, which is what they actually want to do. You know the industry yourself.
Yeah.
I think, it's fair to say, no one wants to agree to this, but it's fair to say that airlines' margins are too thin. For an industry where there's so much that goes into putting airlines in the sky, the actual airlines themselves,
they put so much into loyalty to attract and retain customers. But stats show only 1 or 2 false positives you've got to have. An airline ticket's are price and time dependent.
Yeah.
You don't want to tap a card or you don't want to go up to the payment and then AI says it's refused, because by the time you get another card out, the price has probably gone up again.
Yeah.
So then people switch to other airlines. So CPOI will allow consumer retention.
Yeah. Fine. Look, Justin, thanks for telling us about that. We will obviously keep a close eye on announcements there as they go live, but clearly an exciting time coming up, and you're at the forefront of it again. So
again,
it must excite you, that, is it?
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers, Justin. Thank you.
Bye.